All right, folks, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered for Wednesday, March 20th, 2019. Andrew Gillum, who almost became the governor of Florida, as we speak, is announcing a major voter initiative in Florida over the next 18 months. We will go live to his announcement in the Sunshine State. Supreme Court hears a case of a small-town Mississippi prosecutor who kept black folks off of juries repeatedly. Did he practice violating the U.S. Constitution? No shock, white DA in Mississippi. Folks, a 911 calls with a crazy-ass white woman who used the N-word over and over in Connecticut grocery store have been released. Trust me, it does not help her case. Wait until y'all hear these calls. Also, a Virginia school hires a school cop, but he gets outed as a white supremacist. Are y'all shocked? Are y'all really shocked? Also, the Congressional Black Caucus joins the National Association of Black Journalists and NAACP in Color of Change in demanding that CNN diversify their lily white executive ranks. So why does CNN's President Jeff Zucker keep trying to focus on me and he won't address the question, where are your black executives? I wonder why. A descendant of a slave sues Harvard for profiting from and exploiting her ancestors' photographs. She joins us along with her lawyer, Ben Crump. And in our series of The American Worker, we look at how discrimination in employment fuels the wealth gap between blacks and whites. And y'all, Fox News' Tucker Carlson declares America not a very racist country because, wait for it, there are lots of interracial remarriages. Tucker, you know Thomas Jefferson had a black woman. Back in the day, Sally Heming. But that didn't stop slavery. All right, more education for another Fox News host. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling.
Folks, as we speak in Florida, Andrew Gillum, former Tallahassee mayor and Democratic nominee for governor, is going to launch a massive voter registration drive to defeat Donald Trump in Florida in 2020 and turn Florida blue. Once, of course, they go live, we'll go to his Facebook feed. Of course, Gillum's political committee, Forward Florida, still has nearly $3.9 million available. The state Democratic Party said it will spend $2 million to register 200,000 voters next year. Now, of course, Trump won Florida by a little over 110,000 votes in 2016. So more voters who actually vote Democrat could do the trick. Not only that, Republicans in Florida, as we reported yesterday, are doing their best to stymie folks formerly incarcerated from registering to vote. They represent 1.4 million people as well. That could be a game changer in the Sunshine State. When Andrew Gillum starts speaking, we'll go live. All right, folks, I want to now tell you about this story out of Harvard, where Harvard has been profiting. New York Times reported this. Harvard has been profiting from these photo images of slaves. It really was a remarkable story that was done by Harvard. And so you see one of the, the story was done by the New York Times. You see right there some of the photos that Harvard has been profiting from. This is really caused an uproar. In fact, I was sitting here just a few moments ago. I had retweeted something from Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, who raised the question, why should they be profiting from these various photos? Should that be income that actually goes to the ancestors of those particular slaves? And so right now we want to go to Attorney Ben Crump. He's actually representing the granddaughter of one of those slaves. And so, Ben Crump, glad to have you here. Tamara Lanier, glad to have you here as well. Ben, a few moments ago, you sent me the complaint you guys filed. And so walk us through exactly what is it that you are demanding from Harvard?
Yes, sir, Roland. First of all, thank you so much for covering this matter. Miss Tammy Lanier, the great-great-great-granddaughter of Renty, who was enslaved in South Carolina, Harvard preeminent Professor Louis Agassiz, a very celebrated scientist who we know today was a racist who sought to legitimize that blacks were inferior to white people while Abraham Lincoln was talking about Emancipation Proclamation. Harvard was going out and saying, no, blacks are inferior and should be on the plantation. Well, this lawsuit today says that Renty is 169 years a slave. And we has two questions in this lawsuit, Roland. Number one, how long will Harvard continue to condone slavery? And number two, when will Harvard finally free Renty?
Ms. Lanier, this is it's an interesting story. First of all, go to my iPad, please. I have up the actual story from the New York Times. In Who Should Own Photos of Slaves, the Descendants, Not Harvard, a lawsuit says. We also know, of course, when we found out that Georgetown essentially was saved as a result of the selling of slaves as well. Now we hear this about what Harvard is able to do. When did you first learn about these photos?
I first learned about the photos in 2011 after the passing of my mother. And I came to learn about the photos because of a promise that I made to my mother. Throughout my childhood and throughout the childhood of my children, my mother would always tell us the story. She referred to him fondly as Papa Renty. And my mother talked about Papa Renty. She shared with us the stories that were shared with her. My mother heard these stories from her grandfather, who was Renty's grandson. So I'm not that many generations removed from slavery, but my mother spoke of Renty as a family icon. She was proud of her enslaved ancestors. She talked about them often. She talked about them with my sister and I. She talked about them with my children. And when she became ill and was close to dying, it became important to her that I write this story down, that I document this story. At that time, I wasn't aware of the daguerreotypes. I wasn't aware of the images. I was just trying to live out a promise that I had made to my mother. So after my mom's passing, I felt compelled to put together the story about Renty and our family genealogy as I had promised. And at that time, in 2010 and 2011, we didn't have access to Ancestry.com like we have today. The information wasn't as readily available as it is today, and I really wasn't prepared to do that kind of research. And I actually shared my story with a local restaurant owner who said that he enjoyed doing the research and he was willing to help. I told him the stories that my mom told me. I gave him the names that my mom shared with me. And I didn't go back to that restaurant for several weeks, but when I did, when I walked in, he was very excited. And he said, I found an image of your grandfather on the internet. And that's when I first became aware of the image.
Ben,
and Roland,
go ahead.
This is before the image. She had the oral history. So when Harvard starts saying, well, she can't prove her linear descendancy, well, these are the oral histories that was told to her before this famous iconic image that had been used in movies like Roots and 12 Years a Slave. They believe these daguerreotypes, the earliest known forms of photographs of African slaves, are worth conservatively between $20 and $30 million. Now, Harvard has these, and they have been complicit when she asked for them to engage her about she being the lineal descendants. They wouldn't even do it. They dismissed it and said, no, these are for educational purposes.
Well, we're certainly going to keep following this story here. We certainly thank both of you for coming on the show to explain this lawsuit. Harvard has not commented. We certainly wait to hear what they have to say. Ben Crump, Ms. Lanier, thanks so much. I appreciate it. All right, again, so again, I want to thank both of you for being with us. Quickly, I want to go to my panel here to talk about this here because, again, what this also speaks to, folks, is still, as Ben Crump actually said in the New York Times story, where folks are still profiting off of slaves. Chris Metzler, conservative strategist, author of Divided We Stand, The Search for America's Soul. Also joining us is Erica Savage Wilson, host Savage Politics Podcast. And that's really what we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. What people need to understand is if you think about Jews, the reality is after World War II, to this day, the search continues for artifacts that were owned by Jews, that were actually stolen, that were taken by Germany and other countries as well, and was returned back to those families. In the case of slaves, they were property, right, but their image and likeness is still theirs. Chris, you have a legal background. Your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I mean, this to me is an absolutely unbelievable story. The fact that they think they can just appropriate someone's image and use the term educational purposes. Well, even with educational purposes, we have copyright and copyright infringement, and you still have to pay folks for their image. It is a pure economic issue in which what should happen is Harvard, if they had any sense, would just settle this and move on, because from a damages standpoint, from an economic damage standpoint, they are in big trouble here. They cannot advance the argument, well, they were property. That argument is not going to work, particularly since they are continuing to profit. So even if you believe they were property before, well, once they were no longer property, then what happens?
And Erica, the other issue is this here, and so I would not advise Harvard to use the argument, well, how can you actually know in terms of tracing your history back? Because black folks, of course, were raped and beaten and families broken up, so we couldn't trace our history because we were property. To me, if you're Harvard, you say, I'm not going to make that argument, so if we can't establish ownership, hey, we will donate any proceeds or whatever to the Smithsonian Museum of National African American History or to an HBCU or whatever, but that's, to me, that's not the one you want to make.
Oh, absolutely, but it really goes back to the 3/5 compromise, that black folks are still fighting for their humanity, for us to be seen as humans. And that number, $20 to $30 million, these are the type of things that we're talking about when the discussions now are raised more, but they've not just began around reparations, about black people getting their due, because our humanity was stripped in such a way that we have not been able to catch up economically, housing-wise, education-wise. So for Harvard, I think it would have been best for them to first maybe pick up the phone and talk with someone from Georgetown first before they released a statement about not being able to to track who and what this photograph that particularly belongs to, especially since we have a culture of
Chris, real quick.
Yeah, so but the interesting thing is you are one of the world's premier legal and research institutions. You have all kind of folks with genealogy and all of that kind of stuff. You mean you just couldn't go down the hall and say to the head professor of genealogy, help us out here, before you made such an asinine statement?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, folks, let's talk about this other story. Of course, the U.S. Supreme Court is hearing a case involving a white DA in Mississippi. His name is Doug Evans. He excluded 41 of 42 black potential jurors over the course of 6 murder trials for one man, Curtis Flowers. Now, Flowers was accused of murdering 4 people. The actual evidence against him is thin, and there were 2 mistrials and 4 convictions, 3 that were overturned. The one conviction that stood had 11 whites and 1 black person on that jury. Now, the reason also they kept getting overturned, the cases kept getting overturned because Evans kept striking black people. And the appeals court kept saying, you were wrong. And he kept doing it. Well, today, the case was argued in the Supreme Court. The newest justice, Brett Kavanaugh, seemed to side with Flowers' attorneys. Now, if he votes with the 4 liberal justices, justice might be done. The ruling is expected to be before June. Also, today, Clarence Thomas woke up and actually asked his first question in 3 years. He's known for not really asking any questions. And in fact, prior to him asking a question 3 years ago, It was 10 years before he had actually asked a question. Pretty interesting here. I want to go back to our panel here. We have seen other cases before. The Supreme Court had previously ruled in a case, I believe it was in Georgia or Louisiana, where literally the prosecutors marked B next to the juror's name and who they struck. We know for a fact that prosecutors, Erica, have consistently done this. Yep. They do not want black people on death penalty cases, especially if it's a black defendant.
Right, because death penalty cases disproportionately impact black folks. And this is why elections are so consequential. When people talk about not understanding why their voting matters, this is why your voting matters. Voting for those people that are pursuing those seats as DAs and those local justice seats, this is why it matters. And particularly in this case of Mississippi, their prison, that penitentiary Parchment, is literally a 16,000-acre farm. And so the years that this man has given his life to that institution, having been tried over and over again, is completely outrageous. And this is why we vote. This is why we are involved in not just national elections, but local as well.
Yeah, well, first of all, prosecutors generally forget, in my experience, having been a prosecutor, that the job of the prosecution is not to convict, it is to do justice. So to the extent that you see someone who keeps striking black people from the jury pool, that's not justice that's being done. And that's very clear. That's number one. Number two, as a purely legal matter, as a constitutional matter, this is clearly unconstitutional. The courts have already ruled on this issue. Part of the problem was the courts below, because they at one point overturned, and then they were like, yeah, the state court said, yeah, we don't want to hear it. And so now I believe the Supreme Court's going to rule that this is unconstitutional. I think you may get Kavanaugh, and I also think you may get Chief Justice Roberts on this as well.
And this is what black folks have had to deal with in this country. When people understand why you have a foul criminal justice system, because we know that it is stacked against black people, and there are other prosecutors like this guy right here. And I keep saying that, look, the way you fix this is you say to any prosecutor, you strike black folks from jurors, you're going to actually lose your license. See, I think the problem is we have allowed these folks to stay in these jobs, to be able to get by. It's no different than the black guy today, spent 6 years in prison, just got awarded $13 million from San Francisco, and the two cops who framed him are now retired. Their asses should go to jail.
Right, and have their pensions snatched as well. So, yeah, and again, I go back to the participation in local elections. We've got to make people understand the connection between showing up at the ballot box and these people that, even if they're running unopposed, that name consistently being on the ballot, and understanding the history behind how they have prosecuted folk in your community is important to be able to see how those things tie together. All
right, folks, we'll tell you about this crazy-ass white woman in Connecticut, of course, who lost her damn mind going on a racist tirade while shopping at an East Haven, Connecticut supermarket. Well, of course, we had the video, but she resigned as a secretary for Hampton High School in Connecticut when the video went viral. Smart idea, because now she's still in the news because a local television station has obtained her 911 calls. Check this out.
The man in his little scooter said, "Are you talking to me?" And I said, "No, I'm not," because he called me a I called him a Then he continued to get up and threaten me. So there was spitting going back and forth. He spit on the back of me, and I am pressing charges. Somebody better do something now. My jacket is in the middle of the ShopRite parking lot because
again, where are you?
Spit on it with this dirty, disgusting, AIDS-infested. Is it going to be a white person? Because I will not meet with the now, because I am way beyond that point.
Now, of course, what gets me, y'all, is she tried to actually blame the black people for it happening.
I
It's how they acted. It's how they acted.
There are no words for this.
Right.
I mean, in a situation like this, so you're involved in this racist tirade, you then try to flip the script, you try to shift the blame, and you think that's okay? No words.
And I think, Chris, because it's worked for so long, but now with the advent of social media, with people recording these instances and uploading them so that the general public is made aware, that's kind of like the turning point where we are now. But it doesn't surprise me.
Right. Well, also what doesn't surprise us is that we have white supremacists who are on law enforcement and also in our schools, folks. Check out this video here of a school cop introducing himself at his new job.
Hi, I'm Officer Dan Morley. I'm going to be the new school resource officer at L.C. Byrd High School. I grew up in Chesterfield and graduated from James River High School in 2006. I want to ensure that the children of this county get to have the same safe childhood that I did growing up.
Oh, he cares about the children of this county. Except one problem, folks. Daniel Morley, that's right, the guy right there, working in a school in a 22% black county, actively involved with a white supremacist group identified Europa. His white supremacist activities were uncovered when a hack exposed the group's chat logs. He has now been suspended pending an investigation. To add insult to injury, the school in Chesterfield County, Virginia, where he was hired, is named after a dead state senator, L.C. Byrd, who was a member of the Massive Resistance, a powerful pro-segregation organization. So even after the 1954 Supreme Court decision in Brown versus the Board of Education, the school board in Chesterfield still has some work to do. The thing about this is that we reported the other day, white supremacists in our military, in law enforcement, we keep seeing this over and over and over again. And these are folks with badges and guns. These are the people who are playing a role in what's happening with our children. And the fact of the matter is, they should get exposed. We should keep having this here. And this, again, this is the kind of stuff that black folks are saying, hey, stop acting like we think racism is all gone when you got white supremacists walking around with badges and guns.
Absolutely. And this is another, and there should be a real campaign for having counselors and not resource officers, or just really police officer, law enforcement in school. It's really a reinforcement of what our children see on a daily basis through all threads of social media, through publications, the aggression that people who don't commune daily, who don't have relationships with black folks and do have, unfortunately, positions of authority, then they allow themselves to really act out all of these really negative behaviors. So for him to be kind of like one of the many examples of people that are in law enforcement who then have street beats and then assassinate young black men and women and boys and girls is further a reason for me that I think that we should have more counselors and less resource officers in our schools.
Yeah, look, the issue of infiltration is not a new issue. I also think it is the issue, though, of how the law enforcement can have much better relationships with everyone in the communities if only they would interact with the communities more so. It is this whole notion now, what has happened in the last decade is that we don't have community policing. In fact, we have the us versus them. Now, some people say that's because, well, all these people have turned into gangbangers. I don't know about all that. But I think from the standpoint of that, that's a critical component for law enforcement.
Well, again, the fact of the matter is, folks, to act as if racism is dead in America, I'm going to deal with you a little bit later, Tucker Carlson, on that particular point. But we have many stories like this. Going to a break right now, Roland Martin Unfiltered. Back in a moment. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.
But it wasn't until I became independent and they started messing with my money that I really cared. What's really going on? Too much that is endangering us, from the food that we eat to the air that we breathe. They are killing us. The climate of our nation now, with Trump just running his mouth and saying senseless things and crazy things, and it was like, and I often now think, who is our voice? You have to have something that has taken place that you care about if it stands for. Someone play devil's advocate. But if you put someone up there that don't look like I do and don't sound the way that I sound and can break it down to me, I'm not listening. And my mother said, girl, don't be no damn fool. But it wasn't until Obama got into office till I really started being more educated about the process and how my voice is really heard through my vote. Now, everybody wants things to be easy. We've had a hardship for a long time. If we allow things to be fun, maybe we can get more people on board with it.
Hey fam, want to check out Roland Unfiltered, the blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play. All right, folks, the NAACP, of course, has already stood with NABJ in demanding black executives at CNN. Now, the Congressional Black Caucus, they were actually weighing in with their voice as well. Critically important, folks. And so I want to go to read the statement that was sent out by Karen Bass. She, of course, is the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. She said, quote, "A newsroom that looks as diverse as America has the ability to raise awareness about issues impacting black and brown communities across the nation. CNN's lack of black representation among its leadership positions is truly troubling, and it must be addressed. It is through diversity at all levels of any company that we are truly able to thrive, and our media must be committed to the core American values of inclusiveness and diversity. The CBC stands firmly with NABJ and asks that CNN implement policies that allow African Americans to obtain equal representation within the newsroom." Now, I got a phone call, folks, today that CNN, they have a monthly town hall meeting where Jeff Zucker, the president, meets with CNN staffers. One of the first questions he got was regarding NABJ. What he then did was continue to criticize me, saying, oh, the damage I caused CNN with the town hall back in 2016 that we hosted at TV1, when in fact, I didn't send any questions to anybody. Donna Brazile did, and she's admitted that she actually should not have done that. Now, here's what's interesting. In the meeting, Jeff Zucker refused to say how he's going to fix his problem. See, Jeff Zucker wants to keep trying to make this thing about me. Nah, boo, it's your problem. Where are your black executives? Where's your black plan? That's the real deal. Now, Color of Change has also announced their online petition. Jeff Zucker, give black execs a seat at the table. If you go to colorofchange.org, you can sign up for their petition. All of you should sign up. They want to deliver thousands of petitions to the doorsteps of CNN saying, where are your black executives? I want to go to our panel here. Chris, here is the real deal. The real deal. Jeff Zucker wants to keep trying to say, oh, well, we'll meet with NABJ if Roland's not there. I ain't your problem. Your problem is you got no black executive producers, you've got no black VPs, no black EVPs, no black SVPs, and no black direct reports. And not a single statement that CNN has released since NABJ dropped our statement and going public have they addressed the core issue.
And I don't believe Zucker plans to address the core issue so long as he can deflect. The fact is, for me, and strictly from a conservative position, I absolutely enjoy the fact that CNN, who has for so long really criticized conservatives for being racist, now we see that, in fact, they're complicit in this. There is no reason in the world that CNN, for as long as it has been around, does not have a more diverse ranks of people. That's number one. Number two, clearly, I don't think that what he's going to be able to say with any credibility is we can't find any.
And again, he keeps. And first of all, folks, Robert Patillo has joined us, so we get Robert mic'd up right now. So I just want to let y'all know that. And of course, we know he wants to weigh in, being based there in Atlanta. So you'll do so in 1 second. Glad to have you here, Erica. That's the real deal here. They won't address the issue. Jeff Zucker in every statement, oh, Roland did this, didn't. And so we're not going to meet with NABJ because of Roland. And then he apparently he also said in a meeting today that this was y'all going to love this one. If NABJ was serious about diversity, they wouldn't meet with us without Roland.
What?
If you were serious about diversity, you would hire some black people as executives. See, again, no, that's game, recognized game.
Right. Right, and deflection will not win because diversity is a must, and we all know that media definitely shapes the imagery of everything that we see, and because a lot of the content that we do consume is really coming from one lens, the pushes that we're seeing by NABJ, by yourself, by other people that carry influence are most important so people can really see the difference between what it means to have well-rounded news because their most recent hire, a political editor, is a white woman. So again, that's not diversity as
well. First of all, after they got criticized for hiring Sarah Isker, who was a spokeswoman at the Department of Justice, as a political editor, when she's never worked at a media company in her life, has never been a journalist, they got their behinds ripped. Then when she announced coming off of vacation, oh, I'm just going to be an analyst. And then Jeff Zucker tried to defend that by saying, oh, she was quite talented, never been a journalist in her life. Show me somebody black who gets hired as a political editor at CNN, who's never been a journalist, who's never even worked at a media company. Gotcha. But the thing here, Robert Patillo, is, first of all, here, you got my iPad here? Okay, y'all, pull it up. This photo y'all see right here is a selfie that we took on Monday when NABJ met with the leadership of ABC News. I was in the meeting, Robert, and we're dealing with them on black executives. The reality is Jeff Zucker can try all he wants to make me the story, but no, the reason NABJ called them out is because no black executive producers, no black vice presidents, no black SVPs, no black EVPs, and no black direct reports. That's why we called them out.
Well, I like to keep it 100 when I'm on here, so let's just keep it 100. The first time I met with somebody at CNN to talk about being a political analyst, to talk about being a pundit, to talk about coming on, to talk about political issues and criminal justice reform, the person told me we do not have any straight black men who come on our network. Bam! 100% is what they told me. And so then when I started looking through the people who they invite on, the people who talk, you'll notice there are very few alpha, assertive, straight black men who get to talk on CNN about political issues.
Well, maybe that's why in 2013 they would give me a new contract. Go ahead.
Let's keep it 100%.
Hold up. The person literally told you that.
If you keep it 100% crunchy, if you look at what you see, they love having catty black women. They love them snapping their necks and making sounds and all those other things to make viral clips. They love the black men that they have on to do the same, to be sassy and insulting. They had the one lady filing her fingernails and to make viral clips. What they do not want is anyone talking on behalf of the black community from a place of authority, from a place not of partisanship, not to say, well, Trump is the devil or Hillary is the devil or whatever else it is. They want those types of people who create the types of viral clips that they want. And because of that, you cannot consider that to be real news.
And here's the piece. By having no black executives, there's nobody at the table to say, this is why you shouldn't be doing this nonsense. And that's the real deal. Now, first of all, there's some brothers over there I know who are contributors who are heterosexual and they married.
Well, they probably minority though.
I got you, but again, I'm just y'all know, but literally, a person who works at CNN that's what they told you.
Told me. Also,
y'all, go to my iPad for this next photo. This was back in, I think it was September or so. This is us with Fox News. Let me say it again. Fox News said, no, go back to the photo. Fox News sat down. Y'all see who I'm standing next to? The woman in the white, Suzanne Scott. That's the CEO of Fox News. Let me go on over here. I'm going to go that way. See that brother on the end? Yeah. The president of Fox Business. So Fox has more high-ranking black executives than CNN. Just going to leave that right there. Fox has more high-ranking black executives than CNN.
Yep.
Just gonna leave it right there for y'all just to let it marinate. But see, Jeff Zucker wants to make it about me. So let me go ahead and do roll call for y'all. Tanisha Abernathy was the executive producer at CNN. Left, not necessarily all up to her, in 2015. That's the last time they had a black executive producer. 4 years. Darius Walker was made VP in 2013, was laid off in 2014. Jordi Moriba became vice president for diversity, left in December 2016. Hasn't been a black VP since. Mark Whitaker was a number 2 at CNN under the previous leadership. Zucker let him go in February of 2013. Zucker has not had a black direct report in 6 years. He started in January. So essentially, the entire time Jeff Zucker has led CNN, he has not had a black direct report. So Jeff, you can keep trying to make this thing about me, but homie, it's about you. It's about your lack of black executives. It's about how you somehow can't find them. And just so y'all know, the number 2 at CBS is a black woman, Kim Godwin. It's amazing how they could find a black woman. It's amazing how the other networks can find black people. But see, this is why y'all got to go to color change, because see, back to our panel here, NAACP, color change, Reverend Jackson, Rainbow Push, NNPA, Alphas, all standing with us on this. And these are networks people are watching. And then one media writer tried to sit here and say, oh, NABJ forgot Don Lemon. First of all, Don not an executive. See, all of these networks, what they want to do with us is say, well, look who's on air. Right. No. We care about on air and off air.
Right.
They want us to focus on the sharecroppers, the folks on air, and not the folks who are running the things.
Right. It's, your participation with the NFL, so it's about the people that make the decisions.
That's right.
Not necessarily. It is about the players, but it's about the people that makes the decisions. So continuing to push that diversity and not deflection is definitely going to be most important. And then we're going to have to get engaged on that because, again, this directly impacts the content that we see every day, and it's a 24-hour news cycle.
And see, but again, just so I need y'all to understand, because we're going to take this thing to another level. And here's the other piece. So with no black execs at CNN, which means that those black folks who are there don't have the opportunity to get hired by another network. See, that's the other piece.
Pipeline.
Yeah.
Pipeline issue.
Pipeline. So if you are a VP at CNN, you might get hired as an SVP or EVP or president somewhere else. Yeah. That's also the issue.
Yeah.
Well, it's and also on this point of editorial control. The SVPs, the people in power, give you that editorial control. Right. So when the people in power are saying, well, you're just talking about Russia every night, and we're just going to hammer Russia, that means we're not handling issues like reparations. We're not talking about economic development. We're not talking about why are we doing a drone war in Africa that's still killing black folks every day. Because you don't have that editorial control, you can be the smiling face in front of the camera all you want to be, but you're not. You're a puppet. There's someone else writing the words in that script. There's someone else controlling the words that are coming out of your mouth. And that's why we have so little penetration. Reverend Jackson asked me about 10 years ago to do a report for him called Black in the Media. And at that time, we did a report, I think it was 2000, I was in law school, 2008, 2009, where we looked at the numbers of people who were in executive position, had editorial control at the news networks. Back then at CNN, the number was 0. In 2019, the number at CNN is 0. So we can make all the strives and all the progress we want in having a pretty face deliver us the same information, but it's still the same information until we make that change.
So I'm going to play this for y'all. So the folks said when Soledad O'Brien called out CNN in August 4th, 2018, the folks at Mediaite put this together. So if y'all don't believe Roe, I'm about to show you literally the cabinet of Jeff Zucker. So direct reports is like, president has a cabinet. That's what you have here. So go to my iPad. Y'all about to see all of his direct reports.
This is CNN.
Y'all didn't see a single African American. That's called receipts, Jeff Zucker. So you want to keep trying to make this thing about me? That's fine. You can try to attack my integrity, my credibility. The fact of the matter is, I communicated with several African Americans, professors, and Black Lives Matter activists, and also Donna Brazile about Black-specific questions. Did I email the Hillary Clinton camp? Nope. Did I tell anybody to do? Nope. Would I do that? Nope. Has Donna Brazile admitted she did? Yep. Has she said it was wrong? Yep. But you know what's wrong? Easy. No Black executive producers. That's what's wrong. No Black VPs. That's what's wrong. No Black EVPs and SVPs. And no Black direct reports. So, Jeff, let me know when you're going to address that. Because you can keep trying to sit here and deflect and try to sit here and blame me for something that happened in 2016. But where are the Black people? In the high-paying jobs, in decision-making jobs. We're waiting. We're waiting. All right, folks. Let's go to our next story. As part of our series on the American worker, in partnership with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, also known as AFSCME, we're taking a look at a new report from the think tank, the Center for American Progress. The report is titled, Systematic Inequality, How America's Structural Racism Helped Create the Black-White Wealth Gap. Key findings on the relationship of jobs to wealth. This is what it says, quote, persistent labor market discrimination and segregation forced Blacks into fewer and less advantageous employment opportunities than their white counterparts. Thus, African Americans have less access to stable jobs, good wages, and retirement benefits at work. Joining us now is one of the authors of the report, Danielle Solomon. She's the Vice President, Race and Ethnicity Policy at the Center for American Progress. Danielle, the reason this is so critical is because you got all these white folks running around talking about, look, no discussion about reparations. Let's don't talk about slavery. That was so long ago. I can't believe it. Let's just all get along. Everything is great. All y'all Black people got to do is just grab yourself by your bootstraps and just work harder and study. That's what we keep hearing.
Right. But that's actually not the case at all. This has nothing to do with individual behavior. This is all systematic, and that's what our report shows. And
again, so when you say systematic, see, the problem I have with that word is when people hear it, they just think, oh, that's just so big and unwieldy. So break that down when you say systematic.
Yeah, of course. So like you said, Black people have long been told if you just get an education, if you just get a job, everything will be okay, if you play by the rules. Our report shows that even when you play by the rules, even when you get those protective factors, when you get that higher education, when you get that good paying job, when you purchase a house, you're still unable to build wealth. And wealth is really the best economic indicator for a family or a person's overall economic well-being. Are they able to kind of move through life seamlessly with being able to deal with unexpected emergencies, put their kids through school, retire. And for Black Americans, they just don't have the ability to really build wealth in this country. And that's not due to them not having good paying jobs. That's not for a lack of them trying to buy into the American economic system by purchasing a home. It's systems were not created to work to benefit them and provide equitable outcomes for Black people. And so when I talk about systems, I'm actually talking about the fact that even when you do everything right, even when you play by these rules that have been set up, they don't bear out equitable returns for Black people. Black people just don't get the same return on investment as white Americans, even when they're doing everything according to the system that is laid out.
And so how do you lay out how this can change? And I think about something that I said in the meeting Monday when we met with ABC News, and I said to them, and I've said this publicly, so it's not like, this was anything just to them. What I've said to other leaders in media, again, and publicly, I look at what John Landgraf did at FX Networks. He sent an email out, and he saw that 88% of their original series were directed by white men, even though white men make up 36% of the country. And he said, wait a minute. He said, this is not the future of America. This is not the now of America. He said, we must change this. In 18 months, 57% of their directors who were directed their original shows were non-white men. One email that he sent out said, this must change. To me, to break down these systems, it's frankly going to require white folks who are in power to say, this cannot continue.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, one of the reasons we wrote this report last year was to mark the 50th anniversary of the Kerner Commission report. 50 years ago, President Johnson called this commission together to look at the state of America. And the report found at the time that America was moving towards America's two separate societies, one Black, one white. Not equitable at all. And one of the main sources of that, diversion is white racism. And we wrote this report to see if we've actually made any progress. And unfortunately, we haven't. And I completely agree. Part of this will require, and what we call for in the report, is targeted, intentional interventions to actually change how systems are currently working, because they were never intended to work equitably for Black and brown people. And that requires intentional efforts to change outcomes. And that's going to be a hard thing to do. But if we really want to change and shrink this gap and close this disparity, we're going to have to do that. And that requires white people to come to the table and understand that for Black Americans, that means they may need more.
And in fact, I got a phone call on Monday from a Black corporate executive who, in a major position in a major company in this country, who was frustrated, who was just upset, who was just, he said, I was at a meeting and I'm looking at my direct report, and it literally was a table of 8 white men. He said 50% of the people who buy our product are women. And he said the last 7 hires were all white men. What you laid out, the lack of stable jobs, those good wages and retirement benefits, the same reason NABJ is calling out CNN for lack of Black executives, because this is it. Because essentially, and again, for the people who are listening, understand, if you're a senior producer, okay, fine. If you are some other position, you're in the $90,000, $100,000, $110,000 category. Well, as you go up, all of a sudden, you're now in the $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $1 million category. And so if we only get these jobs that are down here, and again, $100,000 is a damn good salary. Over the course of a decade, that's $1 million. But this white colleague over here, who in 10 years is making $500,000 a year, that means they have made $5 million in 10 years. $1 million in a decade, $5 million in a decade. And then so we talk about, yes, 401k, you can fully invest. You can sit here and give more. And so that quality of life, and in fact, that even changes the dynamic for that white executive's children. His children or her children are likely going to go to college without taking out loans. That parent is going to have the wherewithal to say, here, son, here, daughter, here's a down payment on your home. Black person over here who's making 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 or 100,000, they don't have that kind of freedom because more than likely they have college loan debt. They have other forms of debt as well. And so we have to just get people to understand that. And I got to say this here as well, Danielle, and I've heard this. Oh, they make enough.
Yeah, and one of the things
they actually say that.
Right. One of the things I want to say also is that it's not just about like the income piece, right? You can have a very high earning job and not actually have any wealth at all, right?
Right.
One of the things we found in our report is that college educated Black families are actually more likely to have less wealth than non-college educated white families, right? So even college educated Black people who probably have a very good salary still don't have equal amounts of wealth, and that bears out because they are more likely to have higher interest rates on their mortgage. They are more likely to have higher interest rates on their credit cards or their auto loans due to predatory lending. We also know that if they actually sell their home, they are likely to get less of a return on investment compared to their white counterparts. And so it's not just about access to the jobs, even though that's a huge piece in increasing wages. It's also about how do we shore up civil rights protections to ensure that Black people aren't being targets for predatory lending. How do we ensure that more Black people participate in the market and have robust 401k plans? Right now, it's not as good as it should be. We also know that Black people are not playing in the market as much as they should. And that's because they don't have extra money to put aside.
That's right.
And then on top of that, we need to reduce debt for Black Americans. This is another big piece of the report where we talk about, the need to reduce the debt, even though we also know that Black people actually have less debt than white Americans. They just have higher interest rates on the debts that they own. And so it's a combination of a number of things to shrink this gap. It's not just one thing.
All right, then. Danielle Solomon, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Robert, you want to make a comment?
Just a quick point for Danielle that I'm a CAP alumni also. I interned at Center for American Progress. Part of the issue is getting the studies, getting the information down to the grassroots level that will create these wonderful studies, these wonderful focus groups. We'll have a 20-page binder with a nice cover on it, and it will never get down to the street level, never down to the pastor, to the barbershop, so people can actually actualize that information.
Well, first of all, it's not going to get down there because when you have mainstream media where Black people are not making decisions, it's not going to get covered.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real clear. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
You're not going to see this discussion on the cable news networks or the broadcast networks. They ain't going to make the cut because, like I said earlier, you got nobody in the room who's saying this needs to be on our air, and then you don't have any host with any power who can say, do the story. I mean, that's just the reality.
Right. And even if it does get covered, it's, a 2-minute snippet. I've watched programs.
Oh, 2 minutes is a lot. It ain't going to be 2 minutes.
It ain't going to be 45 seconds.
It ain't going to be.
That's about to say 30 seconds.
Maybe 30. Maybe
30 seconds.
And have just been astounded thinking to myself, there's all of this coverage over something that's really, high level that while it is important, it is not something that really literally impacts the day-to-day American.
Happen.
Yeah, but.
Ain't going to happen. Ain't going to happen. I got to go to a break right now. We'll be back. Roland Martin Unfiltered.
The test of character is the amount of strain it can bear. Lawyer and civil rights activist Charles Hamilton Houston.
All right, folks, HBCU Giving Day. Our school is Payne College, founded in 1882, located in Augusta, Georgia. Notable graduates include Emma Gresham, Joseph Lowry, Reverend Joseph Lowry, William Henry Harris, John Wesley Gilbert, Pastor Troy, and many more. If you want to support Payne, go to payne.edu. That's PAINE.edu. Calling all HBCU alumni, students, and leaders, enter the Ford Motor Company HBCU Mobility Challenge and win $25,000 for your school. Building on their long-term support of HBCUs, Ford is looking to improve mobility in HBCU communities through innovative solutions. The winning program will receive a grant up to $25,000 to implement their proposal. The deadline is near March 31st, 2019. Go to FGB.Life, FGB.Life for more information and to apply. Ford goes further in our community, and we certainly thank them for being a partner here at Roland Martin Unfiltered. All right, folks. Tucker Carlson just continues to make a bigger and bigger fool out of himself. Folks, this was little Tucker last night on Fox News.
I agree that slavery is America's original sin. I think it has had consequences that have rippled through the centuries. The question is, what do you do about it? And because it's actually not a very racist country, we've had a ton of intermarriage and even more immigration.
Okay, y'all. So the black guy with him was Jason Nichols, professor of African American Studies Department at the University of Maryland. So here's what's really going on here. Let me woosah. What's actually happening here is Tucker Carlson really is leading the effort on Fox News, really in media, with this white fear. Now, like I told you, I'm actually working on this book. And the concept of this book is very simple. White people are really freaking out about changing America. This is all about 2043. This is all about what this nation is going to look like in 2043. That's when America is going to be a nation majority of people of color. Black folks, Latinos, Asians, Native Americans are going to outnumber whites in America, 47%. By 2039, the majority of the working class in America will be people of color. Black, Latino, Asian, Native American. That's what numbers are going to look like. And so what you have here right now is this repositioning, this fake news, this new creation. Remember they said about new math, which is kind of weird because you think old math 2 + 2 works. So now we have new history. And so we have people who like Tucker who won't have a Danielle on to discuss that report, who won't do a story on the white supremacist cop here in Virginia, who won't run the viral video of the white woman working for a school district calling the black man the N-word in a supermarket, probably won't do the Harvard story when it came to the pictures, will not do all of the lack of black executives at CNN. Now, Tucker Carlson ripped CNN on all kind of stuff. But why won't he talk about no black executives? Why am I paying all of that? Those are all the stories that we just did on this show. So in Tucker's world, race is gone. People are marrying. Did you actually use the interracial? Can y'all play it again for me? Because I just want to make sure I heard Tucker right that racism is gone in America because of interracial marriages.
I agree that slavery is America's original sin. I think it has had consequences that have rippled through the centuries. The question is, what do you do about it? We're doing something here in Miami-Gardens. And because it's actually not a very racist country, we've had a ton of intermarriage and even more immigration.
Ton of intermarriage. Jack Johnson, first black heavyweight champion, had a white wife. Didn't he get prosecuted because of the Mann Act for transporting a white woman across state lines, which is why they're still trying to get him a pardon? How many other black men married white women in American history? How many black men got lynched because they were with white women? Tulsa, rumors of a black man raping a white woman. Emmett Till, whistling at a white woman. So Tucker, we've always had interracial marriages. But matter of fact, the Luling decision, what was that, 1968? 67? Yeah. So it's not like we've had legal interracial marriage for a very long time. Folks, in their minds, racism has gone out of the window. It's just evaporated because of immigration and interracial marriage. So, Tucker, why do these other stories keep happening? Oh, that's right. Y'all say that's just a small piece. Yet it continues. Because if race has no impact, how about the story that we did that showed that black students are getting $23 billion less than schools with white students? How about the story we did where black communities are valued at $150+ billion less than white neighborhoods? See, I need y'all to understand the game that's being painted here. They want to paint this picture that those things are so far in the past that you shouldn't bring these things up. And the reality is, this has been in hyperdrive since Obama became president. Now, I'm going to connect the dots for y'all. Black lawyers have told me that they're seeing fewer black law partners at major firms today than a decade ago. Corporate America, many of these companies are looking at getting rid of their affinity groups. That means the black employees group, the Latino employees group, because they really said, oh, Obama became president, we good. These things are literally happening in America because they said, oh, we had a black president, all those things have evaporated. Well, when Thurgood Marshall got on the Supreme Court, it's not like racism and criminal justice somehow ended. I just told you earlier the Supreme Court is considering a case where white DA in Mississippi threw black people off of juries, 41 out of 42. So I thought it all ended because of Thurgood Marshall. Hell, didn't I just tell you about white supremacist cop in Virginia? So I thought racism would have ended when Doug Wilder became governor of Virginia. This is the game that they're playing. Because, see, they want to say that we're crazy. Y'all just victims. Why y'all keep making this stuff up? But we didn't make up the white supremacist cop or the crazy white woman in Connecticut who's working with the school system in Connecticut. But see, what Tucker is doing, and Fox News is the largest cable news network, back and forth as the largest cable network, period, they are painting this picture for their largely white audience, about 1% black people, that these things don't exist, so y'all shouldn't worry about these things. Y'all need to understand game, recognize game. And if you think we're going to see less of this, you lost your mind. Because every year as we get closer, you're going to see this thing ramp up because we are living in the world of white minority resistance. They really believe that they are discriminated against as much, that their lives are so much more difficult, and that we have made things harder for them, and we all have it great because they say y'all have got Oprah and LeBron and Beyonce and Jay-Z and NBA players, and y'all got all of this, but they will never say only one black NBA owner, no black Major League Baseball owners, no black NFL owners. What they see are the sharecroppers who they think are doing so much better than them, when we can count countless white actors and entertainers who are doing a hell of a lot better than them. This is white minority resistance. And Tucker is fueling this every single night with conversations like that. Y'all better get used to it because we're going to see more of this. Real quick with my panel.
Well, I think a big point that we have to understand is we cannot separate the racial aspect from the socioeconomic aspect.
Can't at all.
That one thing that the upper classes do very well is they teach the lowest, poorest white folks that we're not your problem. Those black folks and those Latinos are your problem. And they teach the poorest black folks, oh, us rich people aren't your problem. It's those racist white people that's your problem. But what they want to prevent from happening is poor black folks, poor Latinos, poor white people getting together and understanding that we need factories, we need jobs, we need better schools, we need better housing. And if we all do this together, then that's how we create these things going forward. As long as we can separate you on racial lines, then we prevent you from uniting on socioeconomic lines.
Well, and you know, for me, I say forget 40 acres on a mule. Give me a marijuana growing license and a marijuana processing license. And we look at the state of Maryland. State of Maryland just issued all these marijuana licenses, not one, not a single one, to an African-American person. So now they have to reopen the process.
And Fox, the entertainment network, is going to continue to push this because it's in their best interest, as you mentioned, with the social justice piece, that white people who did vote for this current administration that's coming after their benefits continue to feel entitled because of their color, but race is not going to save them at the end of the day.
I just want us to understand, I need people to understand, these segments you're seeing on Fox News are by design, okay? And Tucker is doing more than anybody else. And you're going to see this thing play out in the 2020 election. People better understand what's really about to happen here, because this is white minority resistance. That's what they have created this notion. We are the victims of immigration, and we're the victims of those civil rights laws because nothing was done for us. That's what's at play here.
Well, a big chunk on that is this idyllic, grand old party, make America great again, this idea that we can go back to the way things were in the 1950s. But what they don't say is, well, in the 1950s, every other industrialized nation on earth was destroyed by World War II. China, Japan, Germany, Russia, England, France, everything was destroyed. So you had complete American domination of the world market. We're not going back to that without another world war. But never going to happen. So as long as you can push this victimization of certain groups, they believe that y'all black folks are the reason I'm broke. Not the economy, not the rich people, not the billionaires, not the corporations, not the government. It's you being broke is the reason I'm broke.
But Chris, what we also seeing here, again, you said grand old party. Democrats playing the exact same game. The lack of spending with black firms, with black consultants, black posters, black caterers, black event organizers, black audio companies. It's the same thing. And so they want political sharecroppers.
Right. And the Democrats are doing it because they believe that, in fact, that's going to help them regain the power that they've lost. The question for black people is, when are we going to hold folks accountable, whether they are on the Republican side or the Democratic side? That's the question.
Again, it's all about money. Real quick, Erica, real quick.
No, I mean, that's of great importance, and I think that's why supporting platforms like this, where we really get to actualize and see our power and understand that unless these types of issues are really dealt with, we have transcribers that do go to the barbershops and to the churches and that do talk about these issues. We'll continue to see these things played out over and over again.
Folks, real quick, they've been having some serious problems with Andrew Gillum's feed in terms of at this rally. I mean, literally, it keeps shutting down. Do we have it up over there, folks? Y'all having the same problem? And so what's happened is I'm right now, so pull it up real quick. I'm on Periscope right now. Pull it up. You got audio?
All right. And I run into people all the time who remind me how hurt they are. And I'm like, I promise you.
Yeah, so I don't know. So what's happening is that's actually, first of all, our Wi-Fi here is good, but the problem really is whatever the issue is in where they are live streaming this, so it's cutting out on Facebook and Periscope. So if you want to go to Andrew Gillum's Facebook page, go to his Periscope page. We're going to try to have him on as well. But yeah, the problem with the stream is really how they're doing it. I wouldn't be surprised if they're using a Wi-Fi. They should have called me. I would have told them that's a bad idea if y'all want to stream this event. So, and so I'm just letting y'all know that don't work. All right, folks. So I gotta go. But first of all, let me thank Robert, Chris, as well as Erica, as well as Chris. Where's your book? Where'd you put your book?
Oh, like this.
See, Chris, if you're gonna have a book, you got to sell the book. You have the book out. Always be selling. You would think a Republican would know that, but damn. Always be selling.
I was looking for you to scream.
Always be selling. No. See, you don't wait, expect somebody else to do it. You always have your book. See, you ain't got your book. All right, y'all. That's the deal. I got to go, but do me a favor. We want you to support Roland Martin Unfiltered. Every dollar you give, I've seen some of y'all giving, of course, on YouTube. Every dollar that you give goes to support this show, for the conversations that we have, the panels that we have, the live streams that we have, the events that we go to. This is about us. And I told y'all, okay, these networks are not going to cover this, okay? They're not going to cover our stories. We've got to fund our own freedom. Every dollar you give makes this possible. And so a lot of you are watching right now on YouTube. A lot of you are watching on Facebook and Periscope. If you haven't given, give today. You can give monthly. You can give one time. That's fine. But we want more of you to support the show. Cash App, PayPal, also Square. We got all the forms there available for you to give. And so go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com to join. I would love for 100 of you to join tonight. That's right, 100 of you to join tonight. And so make that thing happen. Go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com because every dollar matters. And of course, if you're right here on YouTube right now, and if you want to give within this chat room, you can also do it as well. All the dollars actually go back to us as well. And so, again, got a great show lined up for you tomorrow as well, folks. And so I will see you guys tomorrow. Again, RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Be sure to support what we do. I'll be in Fort Lauderdale, Florida tomorrow, talking to the black educators on Friday, but I'll be doing the show from Fort Lauderdale tomorrow. I gotta go. Holla! You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered, the blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered, the blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? The blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? The blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? The blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.